Did they?
They not. I haven't seen one. They didn't send one. There's no savings bond offer for this month. I don't know if you guys need your headphones.
Yeah.
I need that for text messages.
Yes, I'm here.
When you're here, I need to flip through it.
Why do you have a? Why do you have?
No,
that
it's
on?
awkward. This I know this mouse is whack. This is the one we should be using with the proper tracker. The mouse is nonsense. Ugo, are you familiar with Freeland Properties PLC? I've never. Is there anyone know about this stock trade? Does it trade on our exchange? This guy keeps asking, and he asked for LSE now. He's asking about the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
And mic's up. Studio is live.
Lagos City, good morning, good morning. This is Business Express on Smooth 98.1 FM. I am Rotus, happy to be with you guys on this Thursday. We have Wanola Akambi of Stanbic fixed income sales and fixed income. No, wait, no. Financial institution sales and global markets. Did I get it?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's cool.
Welcome, Wanola. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Lagos.
And of course, the Silver Fox himself, Mr. Ugo Dre of Nairametrics is also
Hello,
with
sir.
us.
Morning. How are you?
Welcome. We're good to have you with us, Ugo Dre. Lagos, remember the usuals. Send us your messages 0809 444 0981 for WhatsApp messages, and also tweet at us at Smooth91FM. And streaming on YouTube, www.youtube.com // Smooth91FM. So, gentlemen, let's start. Let's start with the. Let's start with the fixed income space. So I believe we had NTB auction. We also had a bond auction. Where do you want to start? The bond auction or the abysmal rates on the NTB auction from yesterday? Where do we begin?
Yeah, let's start with the T-bills. I mean, that
Okay.
was super abysmal.
Mm.
I mean, we saw the 91 days close at 4.04%, and 182 day close at 5.13%, and the 1 year 5.81%. But I mean, the point to note there is just the offer. I mean, it's super abysmal. We got about total of 7 billion sold at the auction. I'm sure even you, Rotus, can take care of that.
Yes, I have 7 billion in my pocket. So basically, you're saying the offer was really, really low.
Yeah, so it was like a non-event. You know, I mean, so you all know what's happening in the market with the whole bifurcation. Obviously, the circular that has restricted PFAs, asset managers, insurance from the OMO market.
Yes.
So what has basically since happened then is that we've seen rates compress across the curve, because obviously. So if I put it in perspective, then as at the time of the circular, we had over 15 trillion issuance in OMO and about 2.6 billion issuance in NTBs. So what then happened was that the CBM by that circular excluded about 37% of the market, you know, and pushed them to the NTB market, you know, and that's why you're seeing a lot of compression in yields. You know, and obviously again, on the other side, the only guys now being able to participate at the almost are the offshore investors and banks. Even the offshore investors as well are a bit skeptical because they're not really comfortable with the bifurcated market. We've seen total volume traded in the T-bill space shrink from about 250 billion daily to about 90 billion daily. So basically that then affects the kind of positions they're able to take. A lot of them are trimming down their positions and exiting the system. But we'll still have some guys stay in. I mean, those are the guys that are hedged in the futures. You know, so what was now left for the asset managers and pension funds, a lot of them were now buying bonds. So we saw the bonds rally from the highs of about 14% down to about 12.4 on the 30-year, and then the 5 years basically rally below 10%. But yesterday's auction, surprisingly, out of the 150 billion offered by the DMO, they sold about 264 billion. You know, so they sold the 5 year at stock rate of 11%, and 10 years at 12%, and 30 year at 13%. So what would happen this morning is a lot of traders will definitely basically protect their bids, and we expect the bonds to open weaker.
Now, as far as, can you give me that offer? The amount that was the total subscription amount again? So it was 200. How much?
So they sold 264 billion, but they
Mm.
offered 150 billion.
Okay, so that means that there's an excess amount of the funds that are chasing those particular
Correct.
securities because
Correct.
of being restricted from elsewhere.
Correct.
So that means so yields will continue to go down in that space. Is that
Yeah,
what we're
I
saying?
mean, today we'll probably say a reversal,
Mm.
but ultimately yields will continue to go down because we've got 5 trillion maturing in almost from now on to February,
Okay.
and even in February we've got a bond of about 600 billion maturing as well.
Mm.
So if I were the traders, I'll probably just hold on to my positions into January because I still expect these rallies to continue because as more liquidity come in, the PFAs will definitely have no choice to continue to push
Because
into
they have to put their money somewhere.
Exactly.
Thank you for that one, Ola. Ugodre, how do you see the fixed income space right now with where things
Well,
are?
in simple English, and for those who typically, tweet at me, ask me questions,
Yeah.
what this means in a nutshell is that when you buy treasury bills, rather than earn the 12, 13, or maybe 14% you used to earn
Mm-hmm.
a few months ago, or
Yes.
maybe a year ago, you're now likely to earn less than 10%,
Right.
9% or thereabout, isn't it? Yeah, so it's no longer as lucrative as used. And even if you wanted to buy treasury bills,
Yeah.
it's not that easy anymore because everybody's going into that market now because of what is happening in the OMO market. So they've basically, driven some of the big guys out of the OMO market. So people with plenty money will go to the treasury bills market. So when you go to your bank these days and say you want to buy treasury bills, don't expect to get it as you would typically get it here.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going in for it now and it's a bid and the CBN can absorb all the cash that is out there.
Right.
So investment outlook is going to change a bit next year and people should start to prepare for that. So it's likely you look at the composition of your portfolio. So fixed income, if you're a fixed income person, then if you don't have deep pockets, it's going to be tough for you next year to attract the kind of yield that you want to have in fixed income. So what are you left with?
Exactly. Where do people go?
Bonds.
Bonds, okay.
Even bonds too. You need deep pockets to get into the bond market, right? Because most of these traders will collect your 1 billion or 500k
Right.
or 2 billion, right? Except you now have to look towards mutual funds. So
Right.
and there's some good ones out there. So it means you have to invest in mutual funds. So that's more like passive investing. So there's going to be maybe opportunities for passive investors next year. And of course, if you want to bloody your hands in the stock market,
Go
well,
jump in
you
there.
all know. Business experience, we hardly talk about stocks these days. So that gives you an idea of
Where things are.
how bad that market is. Even though I kind of think that it might be a rally early next year, though. But
Yeah. What about the Santa Claus rally? Is that whole thing?
Santa rally didn't really
It hasn't happened.
pop like you would thought it would pop. Just shows that investors are still a little bit wary about the market. But I think I personally would take positions in the stock market. So I think that things will kind of change a little bit the first quarter of next year. A lot of companies have dividend yield in double digits, where you have dividend yields based on current market prices that are higher than fixed income yields, some fixed income yields, then it's just a no-brainer, right? So but it's always going to be a short-lived market. So even if stocks pick up early next year, it will still go back down.
And up and down.
Yeah, so
and that erodes your dividend.
that
yield.
erodes your dividend yield. So it's all about your timing anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're getting in there now, you're probably getting in there for capital gains.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because dividend yields will drive capital gains, at least in the short term.
Yeah.
So you're smart enough, to pick some up, then expect capital gains and then take off again and then wait again for another bull ride.
Lagos, you're getting some great insight here from our guests. Thank you both for that. Okay, Ifeanyi Ukolasi was asking about what's going on with Treasury Bills, so you've got your answer there from Wonola and from Ugodre. Okay, guys, so hop into this. We didn't finish this this particular story that we got yesterday. Mr. Aribosola at the birthday of Mr. Ajimobi saying that the rich should be taxed mercilessly. Where do you stand on this? And by the way, he didn't appear as the Minister of Interior. They were very careful to say that he came in his own personal capacity. But what do you think of his comments?
Yeah, tax
Yeah.
the rich, eh? Tax
Me-
them all.
mercilessly is what he said.
Mercilessly. Well, I mean, I don't quite agree that's a solution, right? I mean, we all know that government is to raise revenues.
Mm.
However, the way to go is to widen the tax bracket. We need more inclusion, in the tax net. Um, so how do they then do that? They have to look for how to get more people out of the poverty line.
Mm.
Look for policies that would aid consumption, which would then obviously increase production and
Yeah.
then spur growth. Obviously, that can only be aided with the right infrastructure. We've been talking about power, transportation, but what's really dear to me is the ease of doing business.
Right.
So if you look at the SMEs, look at their lifespan, it's between 3 and 4 years. A lot of them are paying a lot of informal taxes,
Mhm.
which is basically not going to the government, and also ease of doing businesses for the foreign direct investors as well. Has not also basically changed. And even if we didn't have the right revenues, the government spending is not just prudent.
Mm.
So if you look at what they're spending on capex, if you really drill that, are they really spending more on capex and on infrastructure, or they're paying old contractor debt?
Right.
So we need to really dimension that. If they don't do things to spur growth, I doubt taxing the rich
Will get
would
us
do
anywhere.
anything. So we've also talked about increasing VAT. I mean, VAT was about 3.3% of the revenue budget. Even if you increase it about 50%, I'm not sure it moves any down.
Mm.
So it's just basically to see how to improve non-oil revenues. So maybe we've got some oil contracts that needs to be renewed. They'll definitely get some money off of that.
Mm.
But it's quite clear that, I mean, taxing the rich is just, I don't know, it's just oblivious.
Thanks for that one. Ugudre, where are you at? I suspect you're not keen on what Mr. Rick was last suggestion 2 days ago. Where do you stand on that?
How about politicians should be mercilessly accountable or held accountable?
For their working
Yeah,
office?
yeah. Because I mean, how much more do you want to tax the rich,
Mm.
right? In quotes. I mean, because I really don't know how many Nigerians are rich. Anyway,
Right.
right. So yeah. So if you're saying tax the rich mercilessly, you're saying go after the middle class, who basically have been carrying the economy in
Mm.
terms of taxes. I mean, how many poor people in quote actually pay taxes?
Right.
And it's not like they don't want to pay taxes. I mean, they can't afford it. So why don't you just appropriate the tax that you're getting better? Make sure that helps boost economic growth and stop stealing our money. Because when you stop stealing our money, and this goes to politicians, then the economy starts to grow,
Right.
and then more people get into the tax bracket, and then you get a lot more revenue. That's how these things work.
Mm.
So, but if the small that you're the very few rich people that you're mercilessly taxing already,
Mm.
yeah, and you get the money you get from them, you misappropriate that money, and even if you don't steal them, you don't even invest them well, like you said, you're probably paying back
Yeah.
debts,
Right.
or you're using it to invest in new buildings, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That don't provide any kind of economic incentives or investments
Mm.
or growth. So that's really the issue. And I mean, but he's a politician. The politicians can always make statements, so it's fine. I mean, he can say whatever he wants, but I think that deep down he knows that the rich are actually taxed
Mm.
mercilessly. And by the way, this was a governor who, by the time he was leaving office, had, I think, the most debt
In
in terms of
the
debt growth,
country, yeah.
in the country, well, for the states.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Thanks for that. Okay, John is back. So John asked about this yesterday. Freeland Properties PLC, what was it? The LSC. I said that. I remember, John. I said that they launched there. Now he's asking if they're on the NSC. I haven't actually seen this particular stock on the exchange, John. I haven't seen it. So are you familiar with them?
yeah, Freeland used to be. I hope I'm not mixing up, but
It's
I
a
think it
real
used to
estate
be
company, yeah.
it's a real estate group, but
Mhm.
was part of the I think the Transcorp group or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. I know it's a company owned by majority owned by Antonio Lemelu. So it used to be in that group.
Okay.
So when they sort of like split up, or was it UBA? I think UBA Properties or something like that.
Yeah.
So Afriland was spun off. Same way you had Prudential spun off, and a few others. So some he listed, and then some were listed. So Afriland was one of those companies that wasn't listed on the exchange. So I think when they did all that split, some people ended up having a few shares in Afriland, but I don't know how you're going to sell it to, except you go to the NESD.
Right.
That's probably where you can go and flog
counter.
over the counter. Yeah,
Okay,
that's where you can go and flog that shares. But it's not listed on the stock exchange. It wasn't one of those ones that they listed on the stock exchange. There's a few controversies around that Afriland though. Yeah, back then some people felt like maybe it wasn't done properly.
Yeah.
Like people felt shortchanged. I remember reading up some stories some years
Maybe
back.
that's why John keeps asking.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Papi K is asking if the moves the CBN made with restricting participants in the OMO space was done to deliberately boost the stock market. I mean,
it's obvious it's a cost thing, right? This year alone, they've spent over 2 trillion in issuance of these bills, and that's even just, that's like creating more money, right? And then to then mop that from the market, you have to issue more bills. So it then becomes, like how long can they basically sustain it? So they would rather just issue the bills to aid foreign portfolio investors than everybody just piggybanking on it, So it's more of a cost thing.
What do you think?
Yeah, look, it's dead. I mean, the government just can't keep paying all those mouth-watering interest rates because it's helping nobody, really. You know what I mean? So think about it. You're just, borrowing money and you're paying 14-15%. But you can understand why they want to pay that kind of money to foreign investors, which is, the second, I think apart from banks, only foreign investors are allowed to trade in the OMO market.
Right, yeah.
And that's because they've got something you really want to hold on to. You know what I mean? You want to keep their dollars. So you want to keep it here. Yeah. So you want to keep it here. So it's important that you keep their money. But for the others, they just can't keep paying that interest rate. So and this is all because of the way the CBN has basically managed the economy over the last 3-4 years. It's just been topsy-turvy all along the way. So different kind of financial engineering and financial creations or creatives that you see. So one way or the other, you keep juggling things up and then coming up with all stuff. So and then they've mixed this up as well by telling banks that they also can now technically can actually invest in treasury bills because they've increased their LDR.
Right.
So there's not a lot of money for them to invest in treasury bills anymore. So they can only go into the OMO market, which was actually designed for banks anyway in the first place. So yeah, it's more because the CBN is incurring a lot of money, borrowing more, trying to sterilize cash from the economy. It's costing them a lot, and they can't keep up with it. And like you said, the OMO market is in trillions. Why treasury bills is
it's
just
over
billions.
15 trillion.
So
right?
that's a lot. That's a whole lot for them to keep up to. So that's why, my brother. And secondly, because of that green back.
That green thing. All right, thank you guys for that. Goke from the UK. Tax the rich won't solve anything. Government needs to be more responsible by increasing revenue brackets and be prudent in their spending and also be accountable. Both our guests have also mentioned that as well. Somebody's asking, real quick, I think we'll end on that note. Ayo, how much time do we have? About a minute? How much time do we have, Ayo? About a minute?
30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds. Okay, in 30 seconds, Trump has been impeached by the House. What he's asking, what's the impact on the world, including Nigeria? Any impact? I don't think the Senate is going to impeach him now, so there's no...
Exactly. So, except he really gets rattled and then starts to tweet a lot of nonsense.
And then
we now have a more trade wars, and then that basically then affects the emerging markets.
Yeah, so I think that his impeachment basically sets the tone for the 2020 elections. And so if there's anything out of this that's going to affect us is, are we going to see a more vicious president, next year, or are we going to see a more dovish president in case he wins? In fact, next year during the election, that's what this is going to look like, and that would affect his policies even to Africa.
Wanola Akambi of Stanbic Financial Institutions and Global Markets, Ugo Dre of Nairametrics. Thank you both gentlemen for joining us, and thank you all for your messages. Tech Friday tomorrow, Business Express. See you guys.
Thank you.